So, who is your ideal client? In general, what we find with a lot of companies is they don't have a very good grasp on, who this client is, what they're all about, okay? So what we need to understand here is the first thing. What do they need? What are the problems, okay? What are the things that they require? When and where do they need it? And of course, how you can actually go about helping them. These are the questions we need to ask ourselves about these customers in order to fully understand them. So the first thing that we do within HubSpot, when we're looking at our different customers and who we're actually going to market to and how do we actually define that, is we go and identify what we call buyer personas. So when a new client comes to us on board, the first thing we will do before we will go into any sort of methodology, fantastic uses of our platform, is we will make them sit down and spend a significant amount of time figuring out these personas, okay? So what is an actual buyer persona? What's the definition of it? So what it should be is a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer based on market research and real data about your existing customers. So what does that mean? That's a nice phrase. What that really means is when you're thinking about writing down on paper, I'm looking for somebody who works in B2B software. I'm looking for, and they have a turnover of 5 million plus, and X, Y, and Z. It needs to be based on real data, okay? We try and put as little assumptions in there as possible. Some of it is important, but as much as possible when we're shaping out the persona from the start, we need to base it on real data. You get that from talking to your actual customers. So what we always recommend in HubSpot when we're dealing with people for the first time is go and speak to your customers. Fully understand what they're about, what their business is, what their goals they look like to achieve, and particularly what their problems are. Because when we're building content online, and when we're trying to offer solutions to these problems, and we're thinking about blogging and all these sort of things, how do we actually come up with the ideas for the content? The whole idea, if we think back to our inbound methodology here, in Attract, so we're talking about blogging, and I'm saying to you, I want you to blog to your ideal customer. What are you going to blog about? What you're going to blog about is their problems. The first thing that what people will do when they go online is they will Google their problems. I have a problem. I do not know how to drive traffic to my website. I do not know how to convert traffic on my website. I don't know how to sell product X, Y, or Z. If you spend time actually building out your buyer personas and building a full list of the real life problems that these customers or clients or whoever they are has, you don't need to start to think about what your blog titles are going to be anymore. You now know, because what you want to do is identify those problems, optimize your blogs around those keywords related to those problems, and what you'll start to see is really, really good results of people starting to engage with your content, subscribe to your content, and allow you to go through the next phases of inbound. So these are the actual HubSpot buyer personas. These are the ones we use every day across the globe, okay? So there's 3 there, Marketing Mary, Owner Ollie, and Corporate Kathy, okay? So here's a very high-level view of Marketing Mary and the sort of things that we think about. Now, we go into significant detail with Marketing Mary, Owner Ollie, and Corporate Kathy. So the first thing that Marketing Mary is, she's a professional marketer, generally around VP, director, manager level. She works in a mid-sized company, 25 to 200. She has a small marketing team, maybe 1 to 5 people. She generally has a master's, postgraduate qualification, generally in marketing. On average, she's about 42. She's married and with 2 kids. So just that last piece there, she's 42, she's married and with 2 kids. Why would that matter for our blogging content, does anybody know? It seems like a redundant thing to put into your buyer persona. But when you're solving for a customer and when you're actually trying to engage with them and say, okay, I fully understand you both professionally and you personally. HubSpot often writes blogs about work-life balance, what to do with the kids during the summer, all these sorts of different things, because your customer is a real person too, with a real life and real things going on outside of it. So we don't just blog about everything to do with marketing, all the professional problems that we have. We deal with some of the real-life issues around what this person has. Again, small things like work-life balance, putting out posts about that. It can just start to engage your client base a lot better. The sort of goals that she has then. So to support sales with collateral needs, again, thinking of content. What sort of consideration content can we put in place in order to do this for Mary? Manage company communications, build awareness, and the challenges. And for me, as I already said, this is the most important thing. You should be able to come up with 50 to 100 challenges that a marketing Mary has. And if you can't, you do not understand the people that you're selling to. And if you do not understand the people that you're selling to, you cannot sell to them. And what I would recommend is that you get in front of them and say, tell me what's going on in this business. Tell me the real problems that you're having. Tell me about the issues that you're having reporting up to the CEO. Tell me the numbers that they're looking for. What's hot in the boardroom this month or this quarter? What are the sort of things that they're looking for? Those are the things that you need to understand in order to start to get people to engage with your content and to start to engage with your company. Okay, so let's think about the types of questions that we want to ask, okay? So from a professional perspective, fairly simple stuff. Job title, how do they measure success, what tools do they use, those sort of nice things. Again, company, what industry is it in, the size of the company. Again, we're trying to define very clearly a vertical to work with. Their goals, their challenges, the learning network, how do they go about finding information? Where do they find it? What is it? What does it consist of? Who are the people that they are influenced by? Who are the people they follow on Twitter? Who are the people that they look at on LinkedIn? Understanding all this can start to shape your marketing strategy in a very, very clever way. And of course then, the personal profile, okay? So once we've gone and we've defined the actual buyer persona and we have a real understanding of who we're going to sell to, then and only then can we say, okay, let's start building a strategy. Let's start thinking about how Marketing Mary buys her products, how she actually engages with vendors and companies.